All right, good evening, everyone. This is Ajit Mishra, and welcome to the weekly webinar of Week Ahead with Religare Technicals. So, most of you know that we talk about the market performance, how the market performed during the week, what we are anticipating in the key indices for the next week, both Nifty and the banking index. And apart from that, what all sectors and stocks that one should keep on radar. So let's get started with a quick disclaimer first that the idea behind this webinar is to share the insights, not a trading or investment recommendation. So before making any decision based on the information shared, please take help from your financial advisor. Now talking about the markets, another week, trend, I would say a volatile session, volatile week, which ended up with a cut of nearly 1%. So for most part of the week, we were seeing a struggle or a tussle between bulls and bears. Initially, we were seeing that the recovery, we were, expecting market managed to show the same in the initial session. But as the week progressed in the second half, all the moves fizzled out in just two trading sessions. In fact, in Friday's session itself, the main reason for market, closing with a cut of nearly 1% is because of the decline that we saw today. So, in line with the index, majority of the sectors also, traded under pressure. So you have a list of sectors on the right side of the table. When reality, metals, IT, media, and auto. So IT majors, I believe, are the major culprit this week. While the banking outperformed the index. Means they've also shed but nearly 0.5%. It was IT major continuous decline in the IT pack, which took a toll. Then select stock from the auto counters also, which were weighing on the sentiment. They have weightage also in the index. When it comes to defensive, they managed to end marginally in the green. So both FMCG and pharma ended nearly 0.5% higher. Talking about stock specific performance of the Nifty 50 basket, top 5 gainers first. So we have a couple of names from the life insurance basket, a recovery in both SDFC Life and SBI Life. Then one name from the banking space also could make it to the list, which is ICICI Bank. So ICICI Access, the private banking names were comparatively stronger during the week. Then we have a couple of names from the defensive basket. One, Sun Pharma, wherein we are still seeing outperformance when it comes to the pharma index, and the other is HUL from the FMCG basket. Now coming to the losers, you'll see again the Adani group of stock returning to this list. Last week it was IndusInd Bank, which shed nearly 11%, and this time around Adani Ports and Adani Enterprises both shed over 6% each. Then we have Coal India, HCL Tech, Bajaj Finserv from across sectors wherein we saw decline. So now what to expect in the key indices. So first we'll talk about Nifty. So if you remember that we were here last Friday, as we were discussing that Nifty is trying to defend the lower band of this declining channel. So as of now, we are still above this mark of this this declining channel lower band, means this trend line. But this Friday session fall has negated the recent positivity which you are seeing in the market. So what it means in the simple words is that the attempt that the markets were making for recovery, this Friday's move have largely negated the positivity that we had. So now there's a possibility that we'll continue to end up seeing consolidation in the index with 16,800 as a critical support area. This green line will continue to act as a, of course, there will be marginal support around the lower band, which could come closer to around this 16,900 zone, but the major support remains around 16,800 band. In case if it reaches the same, then expect the pressure to continue, and close to around 16,640 could be the zone where it might take a rest. In case of recovery, 17,200, 250 was a zone that we were discussing last time. So Nifty made a couple of attempts, in this week to surpass that level, but it couldn't sustain. So again, for this week also, 17,200 to 250 would be the first area of resistance. Once we are going to surpass the same, then 17,400. So as of now, if you see that from a very short-term trading perspective, 16,800 to 17,200 is basically the band is. Meanwhile, if we talk about sectors, so there's no sector which wherein we are seeing outperformance. So yes, defensive, as we saw that they were partially in the green, but if you see from the a 1 month or 2 month kind of a performance, so largely markets are punishing all the sectors during this corrective phase. So it's almost what, nearly 4 months now that we are into this declining phase, and almost 10% down as well. So as of now, the focus area, considering that the Nifty tone looks negative to us largely, as we are not seeing sustainability in the recovery. So majority of sectors are also trading in tandem with the trend. So the focus should be more on stock specific approach, instead of focusing on any particular sector which might outperform and give you the opportunity. Defensive obviously has upper hand at present. So selectively, yes, one can look at defensive for the long trades, and we might share a few names also during the webinar. And rest of the sectors, they are largely trading in tandem with the trend. So there could be a day of two wherein we might see the correlation not working, but largely they are trading in continuation to what we are seeing in the index. Plus, there's hardly any support from the global clues as well. So in a scenario like this, it's prudent that one should continue with align the position as per the benchmark trend. So apart from the long trades, do maintain shorts also. Now coming to the banking index. So if you remember that from the last 3 weeks, we've been reiterating one particular level, which is a make or break level, is 40,000 mark. So this week also Nifty made an attempt to cross and sustain, but it couldn't hold above 40,000 mark despite multiple attempts. So until we decisively reclaim the long-term averages, which also coincide with this level, it's very difficult for the banking pack also to witness any meaningful recovery, which could support the Nifty index to witness a respite and inch towards 17,400. So comparatively, yes, this week it was the week of outperformance for the banking, wherein it shed nearly just 0.5%, while the Nifty was down nearly 1%. But this outperformance, might not continue in case if it fails to hold the, if it continues to trade below this 40,000 mark. What is the positive factor is that private banking names like Axis, ICICI, Kotak, a little bit the HDFC twins also, they are still showing resilience comparatively. PSU packs, they are down and out. Then we have couple of names from the private banking space also, like IndusInd Bank, and then a small finance bank also like AU Bank, Bandhan Bank, RBL. All these names are really under tremendous pressure. So there is a possibility that we might see a bit of a outperformance, just because that ICICI, Axis, HDFC, Kotak, they are holding strong. In case if there will be any change in the mood in any of these stocks, then the scenario may change altogether. So as of now, again, since we are seeing that majority of sectors are aligned with Nifty, one should assume that yes, apart from private banking names like select names, majority of the other banking names will continue to reel under pressure. So one should look for shorting opportunities, majorly in these stocks which are showing relatively underperformance. So basically PSU names and the other names which we have mentioned just now for the short positions. So avoid Axis, ICICI for short positions, at least for a time being now. In case if we manage to cross 40,000, 40,100, then 40,850 could be the zone where it might inch toward to. Downside 38,440, 450 is the first support, and then major is around this 37,300 mark. So as of now, again, as you have said, that since we are aligned largely when it comes to the sectoral trend and benchmark trend, keep limit on positions in the banking space also. ICICI Access for the positive positioning in case if we get any respite, prefer these private banking names, and rest for shorting positions. So this is about the banking index. Now let's talk about stocks which one can focus on. So as we were discussing that it was a overall comparatively better week for defensives, and Oro Pharma is one such name wherein we are seeing traction after months of corrective trend. So you can see in this chart itself. In fact, the history is much prior to that, where it started falling. So from 980 to almost 400. So in fact, it shed almost more than 50% from the highs. And now, after this 4 or 5 weeks of first a strong recovery, then followed by a range bound move, and then finally this breakout. So if you see just in a simple language, this trend line which shows that every time whenever we had any rebound in stock is used to face resistance and inch lower, but this time around it could surpass that level. So we feel that this recovery which we are seeing in Oro Pharma, though the pharma index is not looking very decisive till date, but Oro Pharma looks comparatively stronger. So we believe this recovery, this tone would continue in the coming week as well. So in case if the market continues to remain under pressure, one may see Oro Pharma as a defensive bet for the long side. Another stock from the defensive basket, Godrej Consumers, from the FMCG pack. So this stock has not disappointed, I would say, for last several months, though there's hardly any participation on good days as well. But if you see, it's a weekly graph, and wherein the stock was hovering in this range, close to around 940, 950 on the higher side, and gradually it's forming higher base. So this time around, this week, it was almost trading above the upper band of this range. If you see this trend line, so last time it couldn't surpass this level, but this time around it's not a very decisive candle, I would say. Means it's not a very decisive close, but still in a market like this, it's an indication there is a possibility that in weeks to come, this consolidation would end, and the stock could inch higher towards 1020, 1050 levels in the near future. So this is one stock from the FMCG basket which looks positive to us. Now, weak contenders. So if you remember that every time when we talk about metal sector, we used to say General Steel and JSW Steel are the two best candidates. So there was an obvious reason, because when we were seeing decline across the board when it comes to the metal pack, be it the top names like Tata Steel, VEDL, Hindalco, Jindal Steel was not participating in that move. But today, after it's the record high area basically for Jindal Steel, and after spending nearly couple of months in a very narrow range, finally we have this clear breakdown. So what this indicates is that the outperformance which we were seeing in this stock from last several months, that might fizzle out, and it might trade in line with what we are seeing in the other metal majors. So as of now, it indicates there is a possibility that it might take a respite around the long-term average close to around 510, which was the previous swing low as well. So this is one candidate that one can look at for shorting position. And lastly on the list, irony that at one end we were talking about Oro Pharma being a good bet to consider for the long trade from the pharma basket. Lupin is completely opposite to what we are seeing in Oro Pharma. Means it couldn't surpass the previous swing high, made multiple attempts in the recent week, followed by a sharp decline, very narrow range consolidation, and followed by this week of breakdown. So again, as I mentioned in the beginning of the webinar itself, that not all the sectors are any particular sector is not immune to this decline. It's like select stock which are showing outperformance. The focus should be on stocks which are doing well, instead of those who are reeling under pressure and making newer lows. So Lupin is one candidate which one can look at to go fresh shorts, despite being into a pharma basket, which is considered as a defensive. So net, when it comes to the key indices, Nifty, we talked about that. Yes, we are somehow still holding the lower band of that declining channel. But the way we have closed on Friday, indications are strong that the recovery which we were seeing till last week, the tone would again fizzle out, and we'll again see consolidation in the market with 16,800 as a key support. And in case of recovery, 17,200 to 50. So this is the 400 points kind of a band. It's something that one should keep a close eye on. Meanwhile, majority of sectors are under pressure. So one should not fight with the market that will only trade on the long side. So apart from the long position, do maintain shorts also. Banking, comparatively, yes, this week it was a better position. But in case, if it fails to hold 38, 500, 400 zone, then the situation may deteriorate. Apart from a couple of names like Axis and ICICI, rest of the pack is largely in sync with the benchmark index. When it comes to stock, we talked about two names, both in the defensive basket, Oro Pharma and Gozes Consumer Product. And when it comes to weak stocks, Jindal Steel and Lupin is something that we have shared. So this is all from the presentation part. Now we'll do a quick poll. So please share your feedback, and then we can start with the Q&A session. So please fill in your feedback, and then you can start posting your question using that Q&A tab. And please avoid any question on any individual stock, any sector related queries, definitely welcome. Anything related to index, the key indices that we've talked about. If you need further clarity on Nifty and Banking Index, definitely we can talk about, but not individual stock specific queries. So please quickly fill this feedback so that we can start with the Q&A. And once you are done with the feedback, you can start posting your question right away. So Vivek, there's no need to raise hand. You can just use that Q&A tab. There's a Q&A tab on your screen, which you can use to ask your question. You just write your question, and we'll just start in the next 30 seconds. Meanwhile, please quickly fill this feedback so that we can start with the Q&A now. All right, so let's get started with the questions now. So first question from Abhijit Ghosh, that what is the expectation for the next week? So as you've said, the tone looks comparatively negative after the Friday's close. So 16,800 could be the key make or break area. We are eyeing that level as a crucial support. Below that, this negativity would extend, and one should accordingly plan the positions. So this is interesting question that we are seeing that the current market volatility is decreasing, but when we can expect the market to inch higher. So instead of preempting the market, there's a question from Kapil Pathak. So instead of making and preempting the market, there could be a reversal or a recovery, a strong recovery. It's prudent that one should stick with the trend. So trend says the trend is overall negative. We are seeing intermediate rebounds, but mostly are fizzling out. So until we see this trend continuing, wherein this lower highs, lower bottoms formation continuing in the index. So there's no point preempting that this could be the area. Like 16,800, we have a major support, but there's no surety that market will make a bottom around that zone. So the idea is, as of now, the trend looks negative. One should align the positions accordingly. If you're a positional trader, intraday we are getting opportunities on both sides of the market, so one should align the position accordingly, but not to preempt and start making position when the market trend is negative in anticipation there could be a reversal. Because in case if you keep on buying on every dip, you might end up erosing entire capital on buying those dips. So there is not a question, it's basically a request that Hindi में बात करने के लिए. So Shintu Pandit ji, this webinar is when we share the update through social mediums and other mediums, we mention this it's only in English. So but yes, for our Hindi audience, we make a small video which we post on our social channel. तो जितने ये हमने बात जो की है आधे घंटे में, उसको हम 5 मिनट में अपने सोशल चैनल पे, आप इंस्टाग्राम पे, रेलिगेयर के इंस्टाग्राम चैनल पे या फिर यूट्यूब पे हमारी वीडियो देख पाएंगे. जो हमने आधे घंटे में बात की उसको 5 मिनट में हम हिंदी में समराइज करके वी शेयर. यू कैन जस्ट गो रेलिगेयर ब्रोकिंग, यू कैन सर्च ऑन इंस्टाग्राम और यूट्यूब पे, वहां पे आप चैनल पे जाके देख सकते हैं. So, Mr. Joshi, like we were discussing that banking is comparatively stronger, but will this trend continue is something which is questionable, because we are still seeing mixed trend within the private banking names. So, Axis, ICICI, they are comparatively stronger, but it doesn't mean that there's a clear outperformance that might continue in the next week as well. So, as of now, one should be largely align the position as per the benchmark trend. Despite the positivity we are seeing, let Bank Nifty cross 40,000 mark, then we can think of taking in fact contrarian trades also. Okay, next question from Mr. Warkar on IT sector. So IT as a sector, as was the major culprit that we've shared in the beginning of the webinar itself. We are not seeing any respite despite oversold position, and it's led by the IT majors, means Infosys, TCS, HCL Tech, Wipro in fact didn't participate in the rebound either, but now when we are seeing the decline, it's not only participating, but in fact it's underperforming the entire pack. So as of now, there's a possibility this negative tone may continue. Though position looks oversold, so there could be a intermediate rebound that we saw in the morning, that some of the IT majors were trading with an uptick today. But any sign of reversal or any sign of very strong support is still 3-4% away from the current levels for the IT majors. So there's a possibility that the underperformance and this negative tone may continue initially for the IT pack in the next week as well. Next question from Balaji, are we bullish on pharma or not? So we are not bullish on any particular sector, Balaji, as we have shared that yes, we are couple of names because of Sun Pharma, Oro Pharma, Dr. Reddy's. The pharma index managed to end in the green. But if you see the other side of the picture, Biocon, Divis, Lupin, all these stocks are really in the pressure. So it's not any clear outperformance that we are seeing from the sector. So be selective when it comes to pharma space also. Okay, so next we have again, we've talked about banking in detail. So again, a question from Mr. Vivek that are we expecting any outperformance in the banking index on Monday session? So There's a possibility because ICICI and excess might cap the damage in case if Nifty might continue to end or inch lower. Why I'm saying this? Because Reliance, which was earlier acting as or witnessing rebound, has again completely engulfed the entire move. Then we have this entire IT set, which is underperforming. So they might, the banking index might outperform, the other sectors, but the major, key or make or break area, as we were discussing last 3 weeks, is 40,000 mark. Keep a close eye on this level. In case if it manages to cross that area, then you can definitely expect that this could be a noticeable recovery, or I would say short covering in the banking pack. Otherwise, it will largely trade subdued. So there's a question, again, a follow-up question on the IT sector that though it's not part of the purview, we usually don't talk about the why part. We always talk about what is going on in the market, what we are seeing on the price action. Why it is going down? Because IT, we all know, is a sector which is dependent on export of services, right? And majority of the clientele they have in US and Europe. And in case if we have news continuously that there could be an economic slowdown in these developed nations, they'll be badly hit. So that is the reason why we are seeing, on every uptick, whenever we have this kind of, news of economic slowdown on global front, we again start seeing, this IT stock getting the punishment. So it's an scenario like this. It's prudent that one should avoid IT, as we've said. Let them stabilize at least for a time being. If you are an investor, then definitely you can cherry pick some of the names from the IT major pack with a 1 year, 2 year time horizon. But from a trading perspective, it's definitely a big no. Let them stabilize, let them witness some sign of reversal, and then we may consider. So I hope, Mr. Sivanand, we have answered your query in this. In case if you are looking for investment, then definitely you can start accumulating gradually some of these IT names, but not from the short-term trading perspective. So again, a follow-up question from Mr. Vivek. So is it okay to, I guess he's talking about rolling his position to the next month in both Nifty and the banking index. And the question could be, I'm assuming that he has not mentioned it here, that he's sitting on positive side or negative side. So I'm assuming it's on a positive side. So again, I would recommend Mr. Vivek that below 16,800 and 38,500 in the banking index, we expect this pressure to continue. And will this be the last leg of the decline? It's very difficult to comment. But yes, one aspect which I would like to highlight here is that it's almost 4 months of decline that we are seeing in the index. More than 10% kind of a cut that we have already seen. So usually, in my experience, I've never seen 5 months of, continuous decline trend. So again, please don't read it otherwise that I'm, saying that there might not be any exception this time, that there could be a red month, means a negative month, a fifth consecutive decline when it comes to the, April month also. But yes, in past, usually we see that there's possibility of recovery. But by that time, how much damage that you might end up doing on your capital is something which is... So when it comes to trading, please make sure that before taking any position, you should have your stop losses in place. Or you hedge your position in case if you're not comfortable, putting any hard stop, at least, think about innovative, because we have multiple options to hedge our positions. We can go through option strategies. We can mix future with the options. So there's multiple ways that we can, in fact, we can look for shorting futures, those who are comparatively weaker names to hedge our positions. So instead of looking at any, that this is my threshold, I am going to anyways end up, evaporating my entire capital. This should not be the criteria. So 16,800, 38,500, that's the ultimate, area that you should look at. All right, so next question is from Mr. Suntaram please note how to check call writing and put writing. So see, in case if you are associated with us, Mr. Suntaram, every day we roll out this report called Market Radiance, wherein we share all the details. You need not to bother about how to do that. You just open the fourth page of that report, wherein we summarize the entire days of derivative action in a very crisp manner through charts, through tables. So it's not like something that you have to read and understand. You just see the data and you'll come to know. And in fact, in case if you want to understand it further, next week, which is the last week of the month, the expiry week, my colleagues are going to conduct the session for the monthly rollover. So in that you will understand more about how the one can read the derivative data, and they'll share their observation based on the overall rollover of the positions also. So there's a compliment from Kumari Radha that your index recommendations are very good. So thank you for acknowledging this. And see, it's not any recommendation. Again, I would like to clarify on that part. Whatever the idea behind this webinar is to share what we are seeing in the market with a clarity, in a very lucid manner, in a very simple manner, so that everybody can understand and take their own call. So if you're associated with us, obviously you'll get recommendations every day in, day out. But positionally, how the markets are planned, how the markets are structured, is something that we try to share here. So hope it helps. Thank you for the feedback again. Okay, so we have answered all the queries, except there were a couple of queries around stocks. So sorry, I can't address those questions. Otherwise, there'll be multiple questions on stock specific queries. So the session might end up being a very boring session, which we don't want to. So yeah, with this, we have answered all the queries. Thank you everyone for participating, and those who want to understand this webinar in Hindi in a crisp manner, you can go to our YouTube channel, Instagram channel on Saturday evening or Sunday morning. We'll update with a crisp video on that. So yes, with this we can end this session over here. Thank you everyone for participating.